Welcome back to another Blacktastic episode of the People Before Politics show, Sunday Rundown, powered by Black Westchester Magazine. I'm your host, Damon K. Jones, joined by my brother, A.J. Woodson, and bringing that fresh perspective, Larnaz Kinsey. Every Sunday, we pull back the curtain on the issues shaping our families, our cities, and our future, from health and safety to policy and power. It's because our mission is simple. Put the people first, not the politics. It's going to be Blacktastic. Are you ready to put your brand in front of the people who matter? Black Westchester Magazine is your platform. With over 90,000 monthly website readers and more than 250,000 YouTube viewers every month, we give your business unmatched exposure. From email blasts straight to our subscribers, to video commercials, website promotions, and targeted campaigns, we've got the tools to help you connect, engage, and grow. Whether you're a local business, a national brand, a rising entrepreneur, or just promoting an upcoming event, Black Westchester is where culture, community, and commerce meet. Contact us today or scan the QR code and start building with us. Don't just advertise, be part of the movement, be part of Black Westchester, be Blacktastic. Rep the movement. Get your official Black Westchester merch today. Hoodies, tees, and more at blackwestchestermerch.shop. Where your voice make a statement. Damon K. Jones exposes the lies and challenges the gatekeepers in Black politics in his powerful book, Emotional Politics and Logical Failure. Black America needs fewer emotions and more outcomes. Our communities deserve better. On sale now, get the book or audiobook on Amazon, From the Streets of Westchester to the Heart of Hip Hop. Discover A.J. Woodson's powerful collection. Black Westchester, the origin story. We got our own thing. Hip hop from the 914, and Black Westchester celebrate Black women of Westchester. Available now at blackwestchester.com and on Amazon. Get your copies today. Tolerance is for Cowards by Damon K. Jones. This book is not anti-police, it's pro-community. Discover how the extended policing strategy empowers you to demand real public safety, justice, and accountability from your local police department. Because the Black community deserves good policing. On sale now on Amazon and Audible. Discover Jesus and Divine Black Masculinity by Damon K. Jones. This a bold blueprint to restore faith, manhood, and purpose in Black America. Because the Black community needs good Black men. Available now on Amazon. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like and share it with others who need to hear the truth. And for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access, join the Black Westchester Magazine YouTube membership club today. Your support helps us keep independent Black media strong. Big thank you. This Valentine's Day, make it sweet with Cupcake Cutie Boutique. They're serving fresh, hand-dipped chocolate-covered strawberries, perfect for date night, gifts, or a treat for yourself. For a limited time, order through DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub, and get 20% off our chocolate-covered strawberries. Love should taste this good. But don't wait. If you've been thinking about investing but didn't know where to start, this is your sign. Presented by Black Westchester Magazine and Noir Network, the Ownership Society is a community of like-minded people focused on building generational wealth 1 month at a time. No hype, no gambling, just disciplined investing, shared learning, and real ownership. Whether you start with $20 or $100, the key is consistency. Scan the QR code or click the link in the conversation to join us, download Robinhood, and take your first step toward owning your future.
Peace and blessings. Yeah. What's up? You tuned into another episode of Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show, simulcast every Sunday 6 to 8 on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and of course, blackwestchester.com. I am A.J. Woodson, my partner in crime, Damon K. Jones, and the newest to the bunch, Larnaz Kinsey, bringing her unique perspective. Yo, before we get started, Damon, I wanted to give two of your homeboys a shout out, Damon. So tomorrow at 3 tomorrow from 3 to 4 on the Vantage Point. Dr. Ron Daniels will be doing a show called The History of Police Oppression of Africans in America with Ron Hampton. So y'all want to catch that?
Oh, man. Yeah, man.
You want to check that out tomorrow on WBAI, Monday 3 to 4. So and there's a call-in number if y'all want to call in. But y'all seen both Dr. Ron Daniels and you've seen Ron Hampton's on the show, so they both friends of the show. So definitely check them out if you can. Word up.
Definitely. Yeah, that would be very interesting.
yeah. Both of them together. That's definitely gonna be interesting.
It would be very interesting. Ron is one of my mentors, man, for many years. So, you know,
when I first met him, when he was on the show the first time, Larnez, I was like, I feel like I know you because every other day David be quoting you. Like, I mean, I didn't heard so much about you. I feel like I actually knew him for years. Like I was just meeting him for the first time. Like, because Damon quotes him quite frequently and refers to him. So that's what's up. So also Thursday, your boy will be 60, starting a new decade.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. We're gonna be outside.
I'm kind of happy because whether it's been entertainment business, whether it's been my family, friends, whatever, I have a lot of people I know did not make it to this side of 60, this side of 50 even. So you know what I'm saying? It's a blessing to see, you know what I'm saying, 60, God willing, and we just getting it in right now. This 2026 gonna be an amazing year, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's about to go down. So anybody in town, Damon and friends are throwing me a little shindig on Friday. I'll put the flyer up. You know what I'm saying? Come have a drink with AJ for a 60th. So we'll share that later. Anything else before we get into our guests, Larnez and Damon? Anything y'all did this week y'all want to bring up or talk about? Or
so Wednesday is the Kenneth Chamberlain event at NYU.
And I plan on that too. Yes.
So I know the link and the flyer is on our website. Please go and register. It's free. Come out.
I just registered when you told me earlier. Mm-hmm. Mayo sent me the link, so I was like, "Oh, here's the link right here." So I just registered, so I will be in the house.
Me also.
Just to support. Definitely anybody who has not seen it, support this movie. It's a very important movie. And when movies like this are made, we have to come out and support them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it tells a story that some of y'all have heard before. But I promise you, I've been rocking with Damon covering this since 2014. He passed 2012. When I watched that movie, there was so much I learned. And I was at all the court dates and every rally and every vigil. And there was so much I learned. So no matter what you think you know, you guarantee that you're going to learn something and there won't be a dry eye in the house. Absolutely. So go see that. The flyer's up on Black Westchester, so you can go see it. Word up.
Absolutely, man. That's one of the big shout out to Ken, man. Like I always say when the Al Sharptons and all the the Ben Crumps and all the famous names that we see on TV talking about justice and all that, when they didn't want to touch the case and they couldn't have control of the case because there's certain, like a lot of people don't understand when you get these big time lawyers in the case, they want to control everything. And I mean everything, and Kenny wasn't doing that. And it's really funny. Al Sharpton didn't have Kenny on his show until Morgan Freeman was the executive producer of the movie. Now, Al Sharpton knew about this case from the beginning. I was with Kenny when we met with Al. I was with Kenny when we met with what's her name? Used to work with Al. Now she trying to do her own thing. I
know you're talking about, I forget her name.
Tamika Mallory.
When she
was Al Sharpton's assistant. I was at both of those meetings. So he knew about the case. He peace, Brother Jarvis. He knew about the case. He knew the ramifications of the case. He knew the story. He never talked about it until it became a movie and his opportunity to have Morgan Freeman on the show.
Right.
And I'm just calling it what it is.
And Kenny was good too. Kenny was good because he was better than I would be. I'd be like, yo, Negro, you didn't have me.
Exactly. But Kenny understood the assignment.
Right.
Even though he know what happened and but he still understood the assignment and the bigger picture to go on there and to talk about his father's death and have Morgan Freeman talk about the movie and his father's death. So, he understood the assignment, but it shouldn't have took Al Sharpton that long to have a conversation about what happened with his father, point blank.
And the only civil rights leader who stepped up to the plate in her later days was Ruby Dee, who came to Kenneth and supported him and publicly stated that, justice needed to be for this family and they needed to do right by him, and encouraged Kenneth to never give up and to continue fighting early on. And I got to give her shouts. We celebrate her for all the work she did on the screen and on the stage and all of that, and the big and small screen. But we don't celebrate her activism enough. And she was the only one who came through for him. And so I just want to shout her out. I covered that in my book. Black women celebrate. Black Westchester celebrates Black women in Westchester. Word up. So. Yep. So without further ado, unless y'all got anything else, we're just gonna get straight into our guests. We have two guests that been holding it down. This sister, I have already done a spotlight on her for Women's Month one time. Yogi, the hip hop therapist. They have and her partner Shamar Watson. They have an organization called Teens Under Construction. As soon as Damon puts them on the screen, I'm gonna let them introduce you to themselves and tell you what they do, because I ain't gonna do it justice. I'm gonna let them tell you what they do.
Well, top of the evening, everyone. Happy early born day.
Thank you.
Your skin is popping over there, man. Looking good, brother. Looking good.
Thank you.
All of y'all. So, Ms. Yogi, I'm gonna let you start.
All right. So good evening, everyone. First and foremost, yes, happy birthday, AJ. Wishing you nothing but more success, health, wealth, and all that good stuff. Yes. I am Yogi, the hip hop therapist. I am the founder and CEO of Teens Under Construction, the home of hip hop therapy. And what we do, we do out of love, and we do it out of pure love for the culture, hip hop, and the youth that we work with.
Now explain, and I know this because I've interviewed you and we did the full spotlight on you, and then I'm watching you on Manny Face's show, and I'm like, you know what? I never had you on the show. So I wanted to, we do people before politics. We uplift people in the community that are doing the work that don't normally get that. You might not read about them regularly and low HUD and see them on News 12. So we definitely got to be the one to make sure y'all are spotlighted. Mm-hmm. So talk about hip hop therapy. People, they may think they know what that means, but then they're like, what is that about? And then they might not take it serious because they got the word hip hop in it, but y'all do some really great work. So I want y'all to talk about that.
All right. So I think, and I won't take Shamar's line because he makes a point with the line, but I think you're right. I think a lot of people don't understand the concept of hip hop therapy, right? I think they think hip hop therapy is like kids come into our spaces and we listen to music, and it's so much more than that. There's elements to the genre, and we utilize those elements and we break them down to utilize them and as clinical tools, as tools where we can make it more comfortable to talk. I always talk about the fact that in our neighborhoods, in the way that we grew up, therapy wasn't a thing. Like, I never heard the word anxiety growing up, right? Depression, you weren't allowed to have depression. Like, you better depress yourself to get these dishes done, right? If you ain't have no bills to pay, you have no ability to be depressed. That was not an option. So we just break down those elements, right? And thinking about being an MC and is the concept of storytelling, it's just really allowing you to tell their story in a way that works for them, in a way that's more culturally relatable, that it's not so stigmatized. And when you get in the studio and you have the ability to tell your story, it just flows. And you're an MC, you know that concept, right? And I'll stop because I could go for days.
Not really, but so to Yogi's point, brother, you said it, you hit it on the head. Oftentimes people are hip hop, but they forget the therapy part, right? And what we do is we, as two licensed clinicians, we use the tool of therapy and music together. So hip hop is a conduit to have conversations in a therapeutic space. So hip hop is more than music. It's a culture, it's a style, it's a vibe, it's a swag, it's an energy that you bring. And oftentimes people get uncomfortable with that. So we like to break those stigmas down. And we tell people oftentimes you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So we bring it to where the youth are. We do this work all over the place. We do it with the DOC. We do it in different organizations. And like I said, we break down the 5 elements of hip hop, which is always an interesting debate because you have the older heads. There's only 4, but people often forget that 5th one, which is something we all possess, and that is knowledge. So that's one of the ways in which we bring hip hop to therapy.
No doubt. Linus, I know you want to get in here. You got some questions?
Well, so my question is, what does traditional mental health care so often miss in our youth, and then blame them for not engaging? I hope you understand the question. So let me restate it. What does traditional mental health care so often miss in our youth, and why do they then blame them for not engaging?
Yogi, I know you're having technical difficulties like with your camera.
Yeah, my camera's being funny, but I'll jump in and answer that. So I think what therapy often misses, and you're right, not to be divisive, but I think we have to be in a certain way, right? Like when you think about even the DSM, which is the book that diagnosed, that book is written and based on research based on people that don't look like us, right? So when you think about breaking down diagnoses, right? I'm a woman of color, right? And I don't think that my experiences are those similar to a white woman. So when you're diagnosing me, opposed to diagnosing a white woman, our backgrounds are different. Our makeup is different, right? We're all human, but what happens in that therapeutic space requires something different. It requires more of a connectivity of an understanding, a cultural understanding. And I think that when we talk about hip hop, I think we bring that understanding to the table. And I mentioned this before. I always go back to Ghetto Boys, My Mind is Playing Tricks on Me, where he was defining mental health. He was talking about being paranoid. He was talking about sleepless nights. He was thinking about, being anxious, right? And all of these other pieces that if you listen to the song from a therapeutic lens, you're like, he was talking about mental health before we were allowed to really talk about mental health. So I think when we bring hip hop to the table, I think we bring a connection, we bring an understanding, we bring a different feel, a different energy, and it's just not so cut and dry as to you just spilling your beans to somebody who you already might feel intimidated just because of the way they're dressed or the way that they speak. So we really just bring it raw, hip hop. It is what's up, right? Like talk your talk, do your thing, and I think a lot of that eases our clients in that space.
In addition, if I could add to it, it's 2 words that we often use, right? There's that cultural competence piece. And that's also that piece of understanding that you're not the expert. So we say as clinicians, but letting the young people that we work with, we're not the expert of your life. We don't have the answers, right? And that's where it's oftentimes we go wrong. Like we can't fix people because people aren't broken. We're going through some hurdles. You're going through some speed bumps in your life, but you are not broken. It's how we're going to get to that next chapter in your life. We often say that your current chapter is not your final chapter. So it's about connecting with the young people or the older people that we're working with and willing to say, what is it that you need? So they have this traditional saying in social work school, meet the person where they're at. We're talking with you, not at you.
And I'll just add one more thing to that, right? To that concept, we also got to think about the person and the environment. So we often talk about the concept of pie, right? We got to understand, if you understand the environment, you understand the symptoms that come from living in that environment. So often a lot of people talk about the behavior. The behavior is just a symptom of what really happens.
I was going to say, even before the Ghetto Boys, where Melly Mel said, broken glass everywhere, and don't push me because I'm close to the edge. He was telling you how he felt because of his environment and how he grew up and what his mental state was at that point.
Right.
So I definitely, so there's been a lot of examples like that. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say that I love the fact that you bring music into the program for children, right? Because a lot of us don't realize that music is therapy. Music, people can meditate through music, right? There's different levels and different ways for stillness. And if people are telling you, hey, you keep listening to that rap music and you walking around with this hoodie on, but we don't really understand that our kids are overstimulated. That's why they want to wear the hoodie. They want to be outside and connected to community, but they want to be cloaked because when they're behind a screen and the screen is so familiar to them, they're behind that hoodie.
Yes.
Right. So now which is great because I was doing research on you and I was like, she looked familiar. I probably saw her in these streets before. I don't know. But I love the work you're doing. I love the fact that you connect the music for these kids because they don't realize that they actually have the tools to be seen. They have access to them now. And I just want to say thank you for the work that y'all doing. And I have one more question.
Go for it.
My question is, what are the youth telling you that the adults around them are ignoring to actually get them seen, get them the help that they need?
I'm so glad Yogi, I know I'm gonna let you jump. You want to jump? You want to take this one? We be ready. We be ready. So, and it's funny, right? That question, it's a great question because it's the same question that's been asked when we was growing up, right? So what happens as adults, we say the music that the kids are listening to is garbage. It makes no sense. What do you think your parents were saying about our music when we was growing up, right? It's the same thing. The music is giving a message. And what happens is we get so caught up as adults and say, oh my goodness, they're cursing, they're dropping F-bombs, they're talking about this. Kids, youth just want to be heard and not judged. What happens is we shut down the conversation when all of a sudden they get upset. The worst thing you could tell a young person is to calm, adults too. The worst you can tell somebody is to calm down when they get emotional, when they're upset. Because at the end of the day, we all have emotions. We all gonna go through those emotions. If you see Inside Out 1 or 2, you could sit there, you could connect and you could relate, say, wow, it's all right to get upset. It shows that you're human. So we allow the young people, and although we are teens under construction, we work with youth from 6th grade all the way up to 50, 60 years old because we're all under construction. So it's about giving the platform to say that, you know what, we see you, we hear you, we're not going to judge you. We may challenge you, right? We're not going to always agree, but we're going to challenge you because we want you to get the answers for yourself because it's your life that you have to live. So, like I said, to come back to your question, it's about letting them know that you are seen. You don't have to go back to what our parents used to tell us, children is to be seen and not heard. No, you actually have a voice.
Right.
Yogi?
Yeah, so I apologize about my camera. It keeps coming in and out. I think that's the haters because we're doing great work. But haters, it only happens when you do good. When you're great, that's what happens. So I'm just gonna roll and leave the picture on the screen. But so what are kids telling us? I think kids are telling us that we don't hear them. I think that's the message, right? I think that to Shamar's points, we jump into conclusion about, mumble rap and drill and stuff. And we do a program at DOC where we work with the youth program. And we end our group sessions with a cipher. So everybody gets to rap and everybody wants a drill beat. So I be trying to hustle a drill beat because, right, I'm still stuck in listening to, 90s hip hop and R&B. So I'm going through my Spotify, like drill music, drill beats, hot drill beats. But it's about listening, right? If we stop and listen, I think we benefit because when they're doing that cipher, even though it's drill music and it's going to a fast speed, they're really dropping some information and they're really sharing with us how they really feel, right? And I think that that's the concept. I'm a true believer that every generation has their own battle to fight, and it's not for us to know it, but it's important for us to be able to understand it. And so that's what we really strive to really understand young people. As y'all know, all the kids are saying 6'7", right? And everybody was like, that's so stupid. That's so stupid. And I'm like, we should celebrate the 67th day of school, and everybody should just wear 6'7" stuff, right? Because it's their stuff, right? I talk about the S that we used to draw. Y'all remember that S? You wrote it everywhere. It was on your notebook. Every time you got a chalk, you wrote it on the chalkboard. Like, what was that S? Nobody knows what it was, but we like doing it, right? So really like really embracing in them, and I think that allows them to expand. And I'll also add, right, even to the understanding of music. We were talking with a gentleman who's 45, who's been in and out of jail since he was 15. He got his first charge with his whole family. It was a subpoena. They went in, and ever since he's been in and out of jail for the last 30 years of his life. We played Black Rob's life story, and this man was able to literally recollect a poem that he wrote to his mother when he was 15. And in part of that, he reversed. He said, I'll never forget how you passed me off to Grams just to chase the raw, right? And when you think about that impact and that trauma that he was experiencing as a young man, really led him to the rest of his life going in and out of prison. So when we go in there, it's really to kind of remind people that your strongest tool is your brain, and that's the one thing that nobody teaches you how to utilize.
And it's a great segue because you may or may not know. So my partner Damon is a retired correction officer, 33 years in Westchester County. I want y'all to talk about the work y'all do in the correctional facilities and all that, and then let Damon come in with a couple questions after that.
So we've been with the DOC in Valhalla specifically for about 5-6 years. We've worked with maybe over 700 individuals that have been incarcerated. In the work we do, we go on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do an hour programming. We work with the younger group, the boot camp group, and then we work with the older gentlemen on Tuesdays. And the work that we do with them, we have a 6-week curriculum. We do 6 weeks with each group, and then we rotate to another cohort. Oftentimes we get repeat members because they want to join us again. So sometimes some of the people, they with us for like 12 weeks. I'm like, you already did this, right? But it's just, they saying that this is the first time they had therapy. And it's also interesting because when we talk about what are your thoughts about therapy, they're like, I don't believe in it. Then when we finish with them, we like, this is therapeutic, right? It's all about, we put language to it. So when we go in, we talk about cognitive behavior therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, about the development of your frontal lobe and how it's not fully developed until you're 25 years old. And then we talk about trauma, talk about when you see somebody getting shot in your neighborhood and it's normalized to you, that's trauma. And we talk about the fight and freeze. So these are things that we bring to them. And then we actually end our sessions, every third session, we do Jeopardy. So we quiz them on all the things that we focus on, and then we give them certificates at the end that speak about the work that we covered with them during the 6 weeks. So therefore they can have for their lawyer, have for the judge, and then we offer services to them afterwards as well, which I'll let Yogi tell you what kind of stuff we offer after they come home.
So we offer wraparound services. So anybody that goes through our program, when they come home, we provide them 2 weeks of clothes, 2 pairs of sneakers. We provide resume building. We work with facilities and organizations that hire, previous incarcerated individuals. So we put them in touch with those to get them back in. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is for somebody who's been so accustomed to the system to come out and adapt to every day, right? You come back to your same neighborhood, you come back to your same community. I'm from Hunts Point in the South Bronx, so I know what is coming home. I done did time, and you come home and you're a ghetto celebrity. Everybody got bottles and blunts for you, but nobody has a job for you. As soon as you get locked up, everybody's like, free Yogi, but ain't nobody was there to say, nah, Yogi, don't do that, right? So I think it's the concept of really being able to bring them into the environment and helping them navigate that environment, because you can't just pick up and move, right? Especially with the rents today. You can't go nowhere. And I think for some of the incarcerated individuals, they've been so accustomed to the system taking care of them that sometimes it's easier to be locked up, right? So how do you change that thought, that process, that way of thinking, that making it? And I hear it, you if you're a hustler getting like regular money, you're like, what? This sucks. So it's really having to change that thought process and helping them understand that they need to adapt to new environments and new things, because doing the same thing over and over and over again means insanity. And we just want to make sure that they're not insane and keep coming back home doing the same thing and having the same results.
Yo, Damon, kick it off. I think you're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, Damon.
No, that's that's great. I must have missed y'all guys. What time of the day did y'all come in? Because I'm only retired for 3 years. You said you was there for 6, and I worked in the pen for 20 years. So I retired from the pen. what time of the day did y'all come in the evening? Y'all came out. Y'all had
PM.
huh?
6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
6,
I
7.
wouldn't have, I wouldn't have saw y'all. I did midnights and 7 to 3. I wouldn't have saw y'all guys, but I remember when we opened up the boot camp and it was real boot camp. Then it turned into a daycare center,
Right.
and then it turned into officers 22 watching these young kids, and nobody was paying attention. And but I'm glad that y'all guys are down there. I've always complained that there wasn't enough color conscious people to come in for our young people, especially our young Black men.
Mhm.
And I'm glad somebody, however y'all got there, I'm glad that y'all got there, because Westchester County Jail, they definitely needed that. You know, it just wasn't some of the conscious COs that was in there trying to talk to the young men, but also they needed to see people on the outside of religious services. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that you're down there for the boot camp program. I hope they do more like what y'all got on a daily basis for them young brothers, so they just won't be sitting down there playing PlayStation and all day long and be on iPads and tablets. You know, I think that I was always against that, because I thought that was just a way to pacify them. You know, if you ain't got an iPad or a PlayStation and a big screen TV, I mean, that TV is huge down there. Like, if you ain't got that, yeah, right? You go down there, you be like, well, like, what yeah, exactly.
I don't got one of these at home.
No, see, that's the whole thing, right? You have better accommodations in jail than you have at home.
Right.
So when these young kids come in, it's better than what they were living at.
Comfortable.
So they don't mind coming there, you know. And you know, I was there when it was boot camp, like real boot camp. We out running, we exercising, we standing at attention. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And you know, strictly straight up boot camp. And then I guess they just decided not to do it anymore. So, you know, it is what it is. But I'm glad that y'all guys are there, because programs like that is needed. And I hope they have programs like y'all every day, not just once or twice a week. They need it Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, them kids get a rest, and Monday they back into it. Because we gotta reprogram them, you know. We gotta let them know that there is a better life out there. Yeah. You know, and sometimes it doesn't come from, you know, some people learn to be better criminals when they go to jail instead of better people.
Absolutely.
You know,
like Cheers. They like to go where everybody knows their name.
Exactly.
Showing your age, Yogi. Showing your age.
That's okay. We're better off. We're better off.
Yeah, no, but she's right. I had a guy tell me one day, he said, you know, I've been Ramadan in jail. I've been doing Ramadan in jail for over 20 years. I said, and you're proud of that? Like you're really proud to be the holiest month of Islam, and you're proud to be doing it locked up for 20 years? Really, bro? You know, and that's an old man. That's how the mindset gets. So we gotta break it, you know, when they're children, you know, and show them that there's a better way. You know, I used to always tell them, I said, man, you know, especially the ones that might come through, they don't have a felony. You know, I said, man, get your life straight. You could come up in here and make the money I make.
Right.
And take care of your family and have insurance, you know, and not worry about the things, you know, that other people worry about, because you got a good job. You know, don't blow it away. Don't blow it away hanging out with your friends, you know, and you get a felony and you mess your life up after that. You know, you really got to work hard and really turn the corner and really work hard once you get a felony. You know, so, you know, but that's good to talk to them kids you know.
And they have skills. Like I tell them, if you can go out and you know how to make money in the street, you have a skill.
Absolutely.
It's just understanding what do you do with that skill and
Exactly.
who's molding you, where to take that skill to. These young men they're bright young men. I mean, the stuff that we talk about entrepreneurship. We talk about what starting a business looks like, right? I'm very straightforward. AJ knows I give it to you how I got it. I don't sugarcoat it. To me, it's going to taste like what it's going to taste after the sugar crystal. So I might as well keep it straight from the gut. And when we go into the YOP program and we introduce ourselves, my opening liner, and everybody knows it, is please don't be so tough that you stay stupid. Just give us a minute, right? Because everybody's posted up, and I'm like, fold your arms, loosen up a little bit. Even to your point of comfort, a couple of years ago we went into their cell block to do some work, and there was a young man sitting with his feet up his feet up on he's sitting on a chair with his feet up on another chair, and I'm telling myself, I know what jail like. Why are you so comfortable, right? So and I addressed that. Like I said, you could. You don't have to do this group. You could do the next group. And he's like, what you mean? I said, well, you comfortable. So I'm going to see you again. So let's give the opportunity for somebody who don't plan on coming back.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So and again, just giving them some food for thought, just in a way, sometimes it is easier for them to understand it instead of coming in there with like a parental hat, like, young man, put your feet down.
Right.
Like, I hear you. You comfortable, but you can't be comfortable in my space. You're going to have to move that somewhere else, sir. So.
Right. Absolutely.
We sometimes get that as well because we also work with the young women. So oftentimes that's a group that's forgotten. So we go in because it's a smaller population, especially in Valhalla. It's probably less than like 10% of the population from when we had started. And their trauma and their stories is just as impactful and just as difficult and challenging. And a lot of it stems from relationships you already know, from home, from the community, from expectations. And it's like you have mothers in it, just like you have fathers that we work with. In the stories that you hear, like when you hear that one moment someone just made a decision that they can't take back, and now they're locked up in that situation. That's it's so important to know your triggers, right? For both our men and our young women as well. Because once you lose it, that Pepsi bottle explode. Now you're in that situation where you're facing years in jail.
Sorry, Damon. I used to get, so me and Damon would be out and someone would walk up to him and say that he was the first father figure they ever had. They had to go to jail to find a father figure. And then Damon would tell me these stories where it'd be like the father, the grandfather, and the son all in there together. Like, I'm like generational trauma. Like, I'm just like, it's just amazing. But I get blown away when them guys used to be like, yo, you were the only father figure I ever had. And that was in jail. Like, that says a lot about our community that we don't address.
So, but I think that speaks to the trauma, right? We don't address trauma. We just sweep it under the rug, right? And that's a real thing. And trauma impacts the way that we think, right? Trauma impacts our ability to make some certain choices, right? So, and I tell everybody, like, don't get it twisted, because I talk with my hands and talk with a slang. I know my stuff. I know how this thing up here works, right? So when I share that out with the young people, I really do it in a manner that they get it and they understand that. And trauma impacts that. It makes the choices that we make. Like, a lot of fathers that are absent, when you do their story and you understand their history, you start to understand that. We asked a group a question. We said, what's worse, a toxic mother or absent father, right? Food for thought. That's something to think about, right? Because a lot of young men, are raised by women who are angry at their children's fathers, and the stuff that comes out of their mouth towards these kids, you're like traumatizing them all over again, right? We talk about abuse, like domestic violence against men, right? Which is not spoken about. And it's crazy because when I bring that up, everybody starts laughing. But when I start to say, right, so when your woman is telling you this and she's shutting you down and she's telling you that you ain't man enough, or she has these expectations from you, that's verbal abuse, right? And they're all sitting there like, and we had a young man just like, and it was interesting because he when we first went in, he was very like, y'all ain't gonna break me. And when I started talking about verbal abuse from women to men, his whole face just dropped. And he said, and this is kind of funny, but not funny. He said, am I stuck? Can I get out? And I'm like, no, you can get out. You can get out.
Exactly.
He's like
Exactly.
23 years old in like this relationship, right? And he's like, "Can I get out?" And I'm like, "You can get out. It's gonna take you some work, but you got to work on yourself in order to make it out of that."
Exactly.
You know, in one piece.
Exactly. I saw it was so important how we in society treat our young girls. Because when I started in 1990, they put me in the female unit first, and back then it was like almost 200. It was like almost 200. I know y'all ain't even close to that up there now. The population is really, really low now.
Yeah.
But in my Nation of Islam zealot days, when I was Farrakhan hard, stomping with the bow ties and the suits, I had a program up there. They wouldn't allow me. They wouldn't allow it in the men's facility. So they let me do the females for a while a certain deputy commissioner was working, and I played a tape. It was Minister Farrakhan's suicide and homosexuality. And by the end of the tape, all the girls were crying. And I didn't know how many young girls that was sexually assaulted or sexually abused by a family member, a close friend of the family. And the adults did not believe them.
Yep.
And how their life took a turn, how their life took, and they ended it up rebelling, trauma, ended up locked up. One girl was in there for murder, and and I was like, wow, like we really have to pay attention. We pay attention to our young boys, but how we got to be so protective over our young girls, because just an incident like that and the family not believing them, can change someone's life, and they end up in jail.
Yep.
And because they're acting out their anger, they're acting out, and they're blaming themselves for putting themselves in this situation. It's crazy. And then they just act out, and they end up, and then the mother's like, "Oh, well, I don't know what happened to my daughter." Then we find out, she was telling you that Uncle was been playing with her for the last 4 years, and you didn't believe her.
Yeah. Jadakiss smoking gun.
Smoking gun.
Jadakiss smoking gun talks exactly about that. And whenever we play that song for a group of young women, the reaction that we get, you start to understand who's who just by their body language. Extremely powerful song.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues we really got to deal with. They use incarceration as a remedy instead of addressing the social issues in Black communities. And we still got to really have conversations even with our elected officials, because sometimes they fall back to the same program, instead of looking at ways, how do we stop it? So it won't even get to the jail point,
right?
That we could stop it in the community, so these young brothers and sisters can turn to brother. I mean, I worked there for 33 years, so it was amazing, to see the effect that our society, all the stuff our society was going through, and one guy was like, "Hey man, they keep putting me in this program. I got 100 and something arrests. I'm not going to get no job. I need a skill." You know what I'm saying? And what can you do? What can you do but hope that he gets out and gets some help, and lucky for me, in the community, they knew my mother, the ones that was from White Plains, Greenberg, they knew my mother, so they knew how to go to her and say, "Hey, tell Mr. Jones, I need a job," and like my mother was like my secretary. She'd be like, "Yo, you got these guys coming to me asking for a job." So I said, "Listen, I will leave all the information with my mother, like, here, if they come, just give them the information." It was crazy, my mother understood, she understood, but we just got to do some work. And I'm glad y'all doing what you're doing on the inside and the outside, because we got to help lower that recidivism rate of our young Black men and women and girls now.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we also work with the sex trafficked youth at CV and Department of Social Services. And
Really?
that we have young girls that started getting sex trafficked as early as the age of 12 by their mother. Right. So when you sit and you hear these stories, they're heartbreaking, right? And even when, to your point about talking to, the community leaders and so on, right? We're not grant funded, right? We have contracts with DOC and DSS. So we do a lot of our work, like our community work is just based off of just us and what we do, right? It's like my husband, Shamar, and myself, and we go out and we put on these free stores. We put on a free store in communities. We've done that for 5-6 years in a row. We pull up at a mall. You guys were there for the Galleria, where we did the Black and Brown Expo during COVID and really exposed our Black and Brown entrepreneurs at the Old Victoria's Secret, the free store where we allow folks to come in and shop for free. We had pre-box made for homeless gentlemen, where we provided socks, t-shirts, underwears, blankets, and pillows, right? So we're really outside putting on the work. We were seeking, funding to do like a fashion show / talent show with our youth. And what we get met with is like, well, we don't cover that kind of stuff because it's related to hip hop. Somebody just asked in the comments, do we talk about drugs in the programs and so on? And we do, right? Because drugs have for a long time been our coping skill, right? Smoking a blunt so that you can stop thinking about stuff is we medicate ourselves. A lot of folks talk about Juice WRLD, talking about drugs and this and that. A lot of the folks that are talking about drugs is because that's how they're coping. So even when we listen to, the Juice WRLDs of today, right? If we listen to the lyrics, it's important for us to understand why they're choosing to take that drug, and that's to eliminate the thinking. That's to eliminate the pain that they're feeling. And a lot of people don't understand that, right? The heart is probably the most dedicated thing to work with. So in order sometimes to numb that pain, that's what they do, and then that turns into an addiction, and now you have to work backwards to resolve the addiction. But we're never going to resolve the addiction until we don't address the trauma, because the addiction is just a symptom of the trauma, right? So anything that happens after the trauma is a symptom of what happens, and we don't look at it like that. So we're hoping to really when we put these young folks out and allow them spaces to display their talent, to display their skills, right? Putting on a talent show and putting on a fashion show, allowing young ladies that are into fashion to do that, to excel, to see themselves in that space is important, because we don't see ourselves in that space. I have kids that I speak to that be like, I want to be this, but I don't see myself on it. And thank God to all AI, because I will take their picture right out of Infinite Campus and put it in AI and say, make this person an astronaut. I'm like, look, now you can see yourself. And they'd be like, oh my God, Ms. Yogi, right? But really allowing them to see themselves in spaces. And that's usually why I share my story with young people. I tell them I dropped out the first week of 9th grade, never went back, never looked back. There was no money in high school. I'm from Hunts Point. We were money getters. I went back to my block. I had my kid at 15, my next kid at 17. I was homeless. And like I tell all the kids, I tell you this not because it's easy, but it's because it's my story. And don't try it, because we're not all here. We didn't all make it. And so it's just, I think it's just really important to stress that. And I when people say, oh, share your story with kids, you're not worried that no, I'm not. I'm worried that they're going to now listen to me, because they're going to say, wait, maybe this lady gets it, right? I know what it was fit to be 15, where you didn't feel understood, you didn't feel heard, you were in a kid, so you lost being cute, but you're not an adult, and you got to stay in a kid's place, but you got to act like a young adult, right? All these messages are confusing. Like we don't even know what are we at 15.
And I think as adults, where we go wrong sometimes, we often say, what's wrong with you? And it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happens to you. Because we often look at the behavior of the child, right? So to Yogi's story, people is like, oh, she outside, she's wild. But you got to say, okay, so what was the perceptive to that? Why is that behavior occurring? So when we stop looking at the behavior, stop looking at the child as the symptom of the behavior, it's like, okay, why are they doing this? What is it about their environment? What is it about their home life? And that's when you really have to start digging. So it's like someone asked in the comments earlier, how do we get back to that, right? How do we get back? And it doesn't start at school. And the reality is, right, it starts at home. But the reality is also that everybody home look different. Not everyone get the same start. Some people already start off with 2 strikes. And that's when now hopefully the community that you're in, that can step in. But sometimes the community is that 3rd strike. And then that's how we get And that's how we continue that trauma cycle. So like these conversations, these platforms, right? When you have like-minded individuals, is when you can just pull that one kid, that one young person and say, you know what? I believe in you and nobody else believes you. So that's when mentorship becomes important, and seeing the child for who they are. Because at the end of the day, we're all young, we're all older, but we're still learning in this platform as well. We're still learning in this thing called life.
Now, you know, on Manny Fresh show, y'all said Manny Faces show, y'all said something that was so dope, and I really want y'all to speak on it again. When we talk about now, you know, same thing like you said when we was coming up, my mom and them was like, "What's that noise y'all listening to?" And they didn't understand it, but it spoke to us. It spoke to us. But what you said is sometimes you can't understand the lyrics, and you printed them out.
Absolutely.
And when you printed out the lyrics, and you could see the pain and what they were saying and everything. You know what I'm saying? Because we sometimes miss the message because of the messenger. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to speak on that process. And after that, I wanted Yogi to talk about how she went from what she'd been through to going into what she's doing now. But go ahead with the lyrics first.
So the lyric piece, right? It's where we're printed out, we're reading for ourselves, and we'll be like, wow, okay. So there's a lot in here. The part though where you have to get comfortable with is actually breaking it down. So like I said, as adults, as people that's working with young people, get past yourself, get out of your own way where you're saying, oh, why is it all these F-bombs, B's and N's, and why are they talking like that? No, it's about what are they saying? And we don't never tell the kids, oh, you shouldn't listen to this. The question is always why. What are they saying to you? And they're telling us that this is the life I live. And once you hear this is the life that I live, now you can, wow, okay, so this is what you're going through, or this is what you've been through. So we break it down in sections, right? It's like, oh, my mom is abusive to me. My dad isn't there. We talk about, all right, so how does that make you feel? All right. So you can't control the actions of your parents or the people around you. What's the one thing you can control? How you respond to it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like giving them the power, because oftentimes it's everyone else dictating what we can do, but it's about giving them the power back. And there's power in lyrics. We take the students to the studio. For those of them that like to rhyme, we take them to the studio and we let them just go off. Some of them like to draw. We take them to do graffiti. Some of them like to dance. So it's finding them a way to release those emotions in a positive way for them, whatever that looks like. So we challenge the audience. Find a song that you would say, you know what, I wouldn't normally listen to it, but my youth was listening to it, and sit in that discomfort and start having a conversation. Ask your young people, why are you listening to this? Why are you listening to this? And share the music you listen to, and that's how you have that conversation with them as well. So we break it down to the lyrics, word by word. Drill music, or me and Yogi be listening to drill music, we be like, all right, let's listen to that about 4 more times just to get it. It's only like 2 minutes, so it doesn't take long.
Right.
Reading it off doesn't take too long either. But that's the point, right? If you don't understand the lyrics, you print them out and you read them, and when you read them, you start to capture them and understand them a little bit. You start to break down what message they're trying to convey, and whether it's drill, whether it's hip hop, whatever it is, I think that it's important to connect. I had a woman tell me at a foster care agency, ask me, what if hip hop and rap is not in her lane? And that blew my mind for a second. I had to mute myself because my potty mouth was gonna drop. And so I had to pause for a second because I was like, so when was the last time that we got in social work to be in our lane, right? So I'm like, you work with foster care youth, and you're worrying about your lane. And I said respectfully, not respectfully, you're in the wrong job. You don't have
cleaned it up for y'all just now.
Whatever lane.
He cleaned that up.
I did. I cleaned it up. I cleaned it up for y'all because I'll tell y'all in private. But I just truly felt like the nerve of you to come to work and think that you're here for you. When I show up to work, my boss is the kid that's sitting in my couch telling me his story. That's my boss at the moment. That's who I came to work for. So I have to get in their lane. And I think about even Naughty by Nature's Everything's Gonna Be Okay. My mom used to always tell me to turn it down. And one day I actually read the lyrics because, back in the days, we used to get the cassettes and you could pull out the all the lyrics on the thing. So I'm like, you got to read this with me. And she was able to understand what I was why I was listening to the song, right? Just everything from him talking about how he couldn't get a haircut, how his mom had to kick him out, right? Like all of those things. And the resilience on that end, right, is that the hook is still everything's gonna be all right? So there's resilience in our music, right? You got DMX when he talks about slipping and he talks about everything that he went through, and does his hook say? He still got to get up and make shit happen, right? So I think we lose the resiliency when we hear a curse word or we hear certain things, but there's resilience in our music. Every song that talks about how hard life was has a hook with some kind of option or notion of resilience.
Right. Again, and the last one I wanted to ask is like, I know your story more than you told today because of the interview and our conversation. And the reason I want, and this question is, a lot of times our young people think that their past mistake, you know what I'm saying, is the end of their story. And you're living proof that your past mistakes is not the end of your story. Talk about that transition. What made you get into the work you're doing now? How that came about for people going through it thinking they're done because they made a mistake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, listen, you're not done. To Shamar's quote of glory, right? Your current chapter is not your final chapter. I think there's so much truth to that. I think that we often talk, right? And research and data shows that if young people have at least one adult that believes in them, they'll make it, right? And when I was done with the lifestyle, I knew I had to do something different, right? And at that point, my husband and I both decided to take our GEDs, and that was the make or break when I took my GED, because remember, I only went to high school for a week. So I had to take 4 years of high school in one test. And I was like, well, that's not going to go that great because I'm not that smart. So I sat down for this test, and when I received the scores, I was like, oh, dear Lord, somebody was shining down on me today, because I don't even know how I passed this math portion. I don't even recall how the alphabet got into math. So the fact that I passed it, that was the first time I ever felt like smart. And that really started my role into going into better, right? So when we talk about one adult or one person really believing in you, I can say that my husband really believed in my ability to do what I wanted to do, right? The focus of TUC is to eventually open an independent living program and be able to house these young folks that don't have the best environments that they're living in. In addition to that, once I passed my GED, I enrolled at WCC, which ironically we teach at now. But I enrolled at WCC, and I majored like in 3 different things. I majored in criminal service, criminal justice, and some other stuff, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I met this one lady, Kathleen Pressler, Professor Pressler, and she said to me, I challenge you to take a human service course. And I'm like, challenge me? I'm like, you know who I am? Oh, we could challenge. I'm a win. And the best L I ever took was that one, right? I got into human services. I fell in love with the concept of looking at the person in the environment instead of just looking at the person. And from there, I went to Mercy. I got a bachelor's. I got accepted into an accelerated program. Again, I was like on an adrenaline high, because I was like, accelerated program, Miss Yogi, look at me now, right? So I then, in the craziest thing that I did was that for graduate school, I only applied to one, which was Fordham, and everybody was like, well, that's really hard school to get into if you don't get in there. I said, well, if I don't get in there, it's not meant for me to get my master's. And I got in. So it was meant for me to get my master's, and I got my master's. And in the social work profession, again, I just didn't feel like I fit in. I can adjust my situations, but I can't change who I am. So I never felt like I fit in with the I didn't like the heel wearing and everybody was in a suit, and I was like, I like jeans and hoodies and Jordans. How do I get in here? And so when there wasn't a way, I made a way, right? I did a biggie. I kicked in the door waving the four. Wait, I wasn't waving the 4-4.
Kicking the door, waving the
4-4. I wasn't waving the 4-4, but I kicked in the door. So I said, you know what, we're gonna do hip hop therapy. When I had to sit down in juvenile detention centers and in jail and all that good stuff, that's what I turned to, was music. So I said, I'm gonna take this music stuff and we're gonna run with it. And here we are, like 5-6 years later, promoting hip hop therapy and being in spaces. We've been able to talk in Utah. We've been able to talk to the National Association of Social Workers, which we'll be doing again in May in New York City. We talked at Harvard.
We were to Harvard, Mom.
Yeah, they didn't accept us in Harvard, but now we get to bless their stage.
Those are details, Yogi. Details. You don't need to know that. We went to Harvard.
Right. So it really just opened some doors that I didn't expect, especially when it came to hip hop. Because initially, when I mentioned bringing hip hop into the therapeutic space, I was met with a lot of, "Ooh, you're gonna turn a lot of people off," and I was a little intimidated by that. And then I realized that the people that get turned off by it don't deserve to be part of it. And so I went ahead and I did it anyway. And here and back to my good old look at me now.
Last question is there anything that we didn't ask you that you want to speak about? And one of our listeners was like, tell us how we can support, how can we help? And thank you for all that you were doing.
So if for my part, I'll say I think exposure is helpful. Any donations that come our way, we appreciate. Again, we don't really make money off of what we do. A lot of what we do is on voluntary time. And a lot of the projects that we do are contracts. So that's how we kind of make our living. But we got operations to that we have. We're on our follow, a like, our sharing what we do really, helps us really get out there and reach the masses. So we're on at Teens Under Construction through reviews and social media. You can think of it. We're there. Personally at the Hip Hop Therapist, our website is teensunderconstruction.com. So just really supporting the movement. Anybody that might be a grant writer that want to hook us up and help us out a little bit, we would benefit from that as well. And yeah, I'm the Russell Simmons of hip hop therapy.
That's what's up.
We didn't see the mic drop, yo. We didn't see the mic drop.
So, I know my camera's being funny. The haters are hating today, but that's all right. I'm gonna still shine.
We speaking too high frequency. That's what it is. You're on the right frequency, and it's a high frequency, so the matrix is out.
Talk about it, yes.
One of the things I realized is that we have this great items, and we both wasn't showing it, and we sit here half up. So here it is. This is our logo, Teens Under Construction. To Yogi's point, literally just follow us, like us, spread the word. We also do individual mentoring. We do a lot of work outside. We work in after-school programs. We work with nonprofit places. We love this work, and this is really why we do it. Our day starts at 7 in the morning and ends a lot of times 7 o'clock at night. When you find something you love, you really don't have to work for it. You just work at it. And that's the reality. We have somebody that we work with very close. And Yogi, I'm going to steal her quote, and I'm going to say it. And she often says, in the world, we could choose to be anything, choose to be kind. If we all play that part. And I'm going to give the shout out to our principal who dropped that line for us, right? So that's the reality. Be kind to each other, because, we live in some very difficult and challenging times, and keep pushing forward. Don't lose hope. And at the end of the day, we got this, but we got this together.
When it comes to our youth, I'll just say one more thing for our youth. Connect before you correct them, right? So we often talk about the need of connections before corrections. When we encounter young people, nobody want to be told what to do. So before you start telling people what to do, make sure you create you have a connection with them. They'll listen better.
Yeah, the Facebook page is what? Teens Under Construction, right?
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
That's what it is. Now, Damon, I want you to do something we're going to transition, but if you can put Brother Conrad on the screen for as they going out, I wanted to introduce him. This is the brother who was y'all are hip hop heads back in the hip hop days. And the Nation of Islam, he was considered the hip hop minister. When they was having all those beefs and stuff, he was the one bringing them together and squashing those beefs. And he's our next our next guest. So if there's a way Damon can put him on while y'all are on real quick, I just wanted to introduce y'all as y'all go out and he comes in. So can you do that, Damon? Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can bring the brother up, I just want to introduce
give me 1 second.
The hip hop connection there. You know what I'm saying? Because
yes.
I'm a big hip hop
in the house.
Yeah, I'm a big hip. Y'all already know I'm hip hop.
BX.
Yeah. I'm hip hop to my bone. The label we was on is in the BX. We was in B-Boy Records.
We know about you, AJ. We know. We got the book. Actually, I got a collection of books that I would love for you to come check out. You would absolutely love.
Oh, absolutely.
And my buddy, one of my top buddies is Easy AD. So we talk
that's
about,
my dude, Cocos. Yes. I know Tone. So this is Brother Conrad. He was Conrad
peace, my sisters. Yeah, peace.
He was the hip hop minister for the Nation of Islam. And like I said, he squashed a lot of those beefs back then. So like I just wanted to get y'all to say hello to each other as y'all leave and he comes on. So
well, it's very, very nice to meet you, sisters. I look forward to following up with your work and keep teaching. Keep teaching.
We appreciate that, brother.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
All right.
And I want to thank y'all for coming. And y'all know anything Black Westchester can do to support what y'all doing. Y'all got anything that y'all need to get out. Y'all got an open door policy anytime y'all want to come on. If y'all want to write an editorial for the paper or the website, you know, it's an open door because we gotta keep attention and spotlights on individuals like y'all that are putting in that work that, like I said, the mainstream media doesn't talk about. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to let you know about our free store. When it's coming, we're going to give you the name, the date, so you can let your audience know there's no gimmicks, nothing. Everything in the store is brand new and everything is free for the community. All they got to do is sign
up. That's beautiful. Wow,
yeah,
that's crazy.
When y'all was at the Galleria, we was there. And when we wasn't there, our paper was there.
Yep.
Even if we wasn't there, the paper was there.
Yep. We gave everybody a paper with their shopping experience. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. And Yogi, you know how to reach me. So anything you'll need, holla.
You got it. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great one. AJ, I'm going to try to make it to your birthday. I got a hip hop violin event at 6. But if I finish early, me and my husband going to swing through.
All right. And Shamar, it was good to meet you, my brother.
Brother, likewise.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to transition into our next segment. I'm going to let David introduce my brother.
AJ, you sound like you far away. I can hardly hear you.
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you clear.
Can you hear me now? So I'm going to let Damon introduce our next brother who's on here in the next segment we're going to do. And again, if you just tuned in, you are watching Black Westchester Presents, the People Before Politics radio show. We simulcast live every Sunday, 6 to 8 on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on blackwestchester.com and anywhere else they allow us to stream. So go ahead, David, take it away.
Yes, I want to introduce the next guest. This is my brother. We always talking, and I'm glad he's able to even get in, even in the car, man, because we wanted to talk. I couldn't think of no better pastor to have the conversation about what happened with Don Lemon in the church. I said, let me reach out to Brother Conrad so we can get some real truth to what's going on. And I want to welcome my brother once again, a friend of the show, Pastor Conrad Tillard. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
It's great to be here with you and Brother AJ, and I continue to be a fan of not only the show, the newspaper. You all are something like me. You don't mind telling the truth. And listen, and your stuff is actually interesting. The problem with saying what everybody else says and the orthodoxy is that it just really isn't very interesting. So I appreciate the nuance that Black Westchester brings to the table.
And this is it's our new addition, Larnez. I don't think you met her the last few times. She just came. She's been a great addition to the Black Westchester family.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Our new addition, Larnez Kingsley. She's been a great addition to the Black Westchester family.
Did we freeze?
No, can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
I can, but just sparingly. Yeah, I can hear you now.
We got a new addition, new host to the show, Larnez Kingsley. This is your first time on the show with her. So she brings a little different flavor, different questions, different outlook to what's going on. But brother, like we talked for a hot second, and I'm like, man, you gotta come on the show Sunday about what is your thought as a pastor of a church,
right?
Being in the ministry as long as you've been in the ministry,
right?
What was your thought about the actions of, it's not Don Lemon, but the protesters and interrupting a sanctuary, no matter what color it is, just interrupting a sanctuary?
Right. Of course, I was outraged, and I was outraged for a number of reasons. Number one, I was outraged because one of the most important founding principles of the United States of America was the principle of freedom of religion, freedom of assembly. And when, in Europe, when the Catholic Church ruled, and then later the Church of England, the people who came to the United States could not worship the way they wanted to. In fact, they had to worship the way the state said they had to worship. The church, the crown, the king, and the pope, or they were married. There was a marriage between the cross and the crown. So you only had an official church, and that church had power over people. If they declared you a heretic in that day, you could be sentenced to death just by your pastor, okay, and your theology. And so the principle of freedom of religion, freedom of assembly is a very sacrosanct principle in the United States. And in fact, I was also outraged because when the Ku Klux Klan and the brutes in the South invaded our churches and sanctuaries, burned them down, or even as late as Dylan Roof, killing people in the sanctuary, that was not only a violation of the Constitution, that was not only breaking the law, but that was breaking the moral law. And so when I saw these people going to church, many of them misguided, progressive Christians, I said to myself, no person that fears God or has a real sincere relationship with God could even fix their mind to go into someone else's worship service and desecrate it. I would not do that to a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Jewish temple, a Muslim mosque. And so those who are justifying it or trying to justify it, because apparently the man was one of the ministers worked for ICE. Well, ministers, there are ministers who molested children that they don't disrupt their churches.
Exactly. Go ahead, brother.
I mean, the KKK. And what I'm saying is, many of these people are following godless leftists, godless progressives that really don't have any reverence for religion. And so I wanted to call it out. I'm a pastor. I would never approve of that, nor would I be weak in my condemnation of it, because it's just wrong.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say,
Am I still with you?
Yeah, you still
We
with
can hear you, but we can't see you.
We can't see you, but we can
Okay,
hear
let me. I don't know what happened.
There we go.
But that
There
was
we go.
my position, and I was very upset because, first of all, if all of the great leaders that we've had, and no matter what a person feels about ICE, this is not the most existential threat that we faced. Dr. Martin Luther King and even those before him, they didn't go into Bull Connor's church and disrupt that service. And so if Dr. King didn't do it, and Malcolm didn't advocate it, and John Lewis didn't do it, and Abernathy and Hosea Williams and Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth didn't do it, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't do it. If none of the greats did it, why would I follow Don Lemon to start doing something that's never been done before in the Black struggle?
Right.
And I just wanted to say real quick, Damon, and for Black
And so
people,
I just wanted to point out, when Yusuf Hawkins was killed in Bensonhurst, those boys, all of them, were members of Catholic churches. We went to the streets in Bensonhurst, but we never went into those churches to disrupt those worship services. That's an indecent act. I don't care how you can't justify it. As I said, ministers have done horrific things. And once you start down that road, I was saying to some of my progressive friends who are celebrating it because he happens to be a white conservative theologian, okay? And I don't even know the man, I don't know the church. But there are a lot of liberal and progressive churches that promote same-sex marriage. They have ordained homosexual members of the clergy. They have rainbow flags. How would they feel if someone who was a religious conservative said this is ungodly, it's an abomination, we're going to disrupt your worship service, how would they feel? What would their response be? And I think we all know the answer.
Right.
Absolutely. And for black people, for any black people who condone
So
that,
that's my position.
Oh, I don't think. Hey, Conrad, can you hear us?
I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. Did
Okay.
you hear what I just said?
I heard everything you said, and what I was saying on top of that. For black people to condone that, I remind them. Remember back when Julianne?
Did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
Oh.
Can't hear us.
Maybe he can't hear you, AJ. AJ, you gotta speak up because maybe he can't hear you.
So I was talking about.
Yeah, I didn't hear.
When Giuliani had the
I can hear you, Damon. I can't hear AJ at all.
Well, then you might have to repeat what I'm saying, Damon. When Giuliani had them cops run up in the mosque, black people was upset.
Were you able to hear my last answer?
Yes.
Oh, I got it, AJ. When Giuliani let people run up in the mosque,
right?
A lot of people was upset, but the police caught a different story in the mosque.
Yes, they did, and they did because that was the response in 1994 and in 1972 of the Nation of Islam that we would not allow anyone to desecrate our worship service. Now that was a miscommunication between the police and the mosque. Someone had called in a false report, but if you remember, the point the brothers were making to the police: you can't come in here with weapons.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so the point is the mosque and later the police officers were deemed wrong because they weren't supposed to come to a sacred space and come and barge in like that. And they were supposed to call a supervisor because a sacred worship place is something that we all should revere and respect. And so, the churches, many of them are becoming increasingly security conscious, but it's just wrong. And as I said, if some conservatives or religious fundamentalists had attacked Riverside Church or some of these liberal churches based upon their theology, they would scream bloody murder. And so it's not right. It's not justified. And it's just heartbreaking to me that so many black people are trying to justify it.
Right. And that was the point. David, what I wanted to say. That any black people.
And it all goes to the fact that they're so irrational. Yes.
The point was any black people that justify.
Are you not able to hear me?
Yes. We didn't justify that, so we shouldn't justify this. And that's the point. I want Damon if you could.
He said we couldn't justify. We couldn't justify
that. Are you not able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
You can hear me? Okay, great. What is your position on a lot of the pastors and black pastors supporting what the group did and supporting what Don Lemon did?
Well, they're just being hypocritical, and let's call it for what it is. As I said, suppose some anti-Christian group, the Hebrew Israelites, marched up in their church and disrupted their church and called them false teachers, misleading black people, and pulled them down out of the pulpit and disrupted their service. What would their response be? And so, again, it's almost a juvenile instinct in some of these people because they feel they're justified because they don't like what job this man has. But once we start down that road, anyone that doesn't like what you're preaching, anyone that doesn't like a member in your church would be justified for coming in and disrupting your worship service. I mean, there's no intelligent rationale behind this. It's an irrational hatred of Trump And unfortunately, too many black people are following what I consider godless leftists. A left care nothing about God. They don't believe in God. And so it's nothing for them to desecrate a church. Well, suppose some right-wing group went into one of their leftist meetings with billy clubs and whipped their backside, disrupted their meeting. What would their view be? Somebody who said, we don't want you in America promoting communism and socialism in this capitalist country of ours. So, once you begin to turn the scenario around, you realize that there's no justification for this. There's no justification whatsoever.
Now, brother, how can this is my argument here, and this case is going to be very interesting. It's almost to say that when I watch some of the shows, to say the First Amendment, the free speech, is kind of outweighing, the right to pray and the right to go to religious service. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just political and crazy that we are even having this conversation.
It is crazy because, first of all, the right to protest, okay, which of course we all have a right to protest, but we also have a right to assemble. My freedom of speech and my freedoms cannot infringe upon your freedoms, okay? My freedom of speech or my constitutional freedoms cannot deny you. So it's fallacious logic to say that because I have the right to protest, I can stop you from meeting. I can disrupt your right to assemble or your right to worship. So it's foolish. Now, the other thing they're doing, and it's a bastardization of history. It's an unfortunate bastardization of history because
I know what you're going to say.
They want to. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can you all hear? Okay. So I've heard many people say, well, the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King. Well, again, I challenge you. Show me one time when Martin Luther King disrupted a worship service. Show me one time where the civil rights, they sat in lunch counters. They sat in the middle of the street. They attempted to ride the buses. But show me where John Lewis, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, Reverend Ralph David Abernathy, Coretta Scott King, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture. Show me where he ever disrupted a church. And he was an atheist.
Right.
So I have a question. So historically, churches were central for protest movements. Historically, we all know that. So what do you feel changed from then till now?
Freedom. The fact that the church and the God we serve gave black people more freedom. And like most people, when the foot is on your neck, you turn to God. But when you get $2 or $3 over the rent and utility money and a hair weave and a brand new Mercedes, you don't need God anymore.
Exactly.
And so all of the institutions that brought us thus far along the way, in our freedom, instead of saying these institutions are the linchpin for our success, were it not for the NAACP, were it not for the Black Church, the Nation of Islam, SCLC, we've got to support these institutions because this is how we got here. But no, with black folks, the minute we could go to white hotels, we stopped going to black hotels. And so it's our own ignorance. And it's, the Bible talks about how God loved Israel. But the minute God brought Israel out of bondage, Israel began to whore with strange gods. And that's what we've done. We have become an increasingly secular people. There was not too, in fact, a year ago, you couldn't have gotten black folks to go into a church and disrupt it. But I'm telling you, one of the greatest cancers in the black thinking and psyche right now is MSNBC or MS Now. No, I'm serious. It is a left wing station funded by an anarchist, and that whole left wing movement is funded by a godless anarchist. And unfortunately, black people are being fed a steady diet of this. Now, the issue between Trump and the Democrats is two groups of white people fighting for power.
There you go.
Liberal whites
Exactly.
and Trump and his people.
Exactly.
And black folks don't radically fare differently no matter who's in office.
There you
And
go.
but fine, if you like Democrats and you get more contracts under the Democrats, then that's fine. I understand that. If a person gets more contracts under the Republicans, in other words, that's just politics. But when you
Right.
start losing your moral and ethic framework, where you don't even see the church or the mosque or the synagogue or religious people as somebody that I mean, out of all the places, okay, they say, well, ICE is doing this and that. Okay, well, there are people who work for ICE that also go to discos and clubs. Go disrupt the club. I'm
Right.
sure there are guys that work for ICE that are also bouncers at strip clubs. Go disrespect the strip club and disrupt that. Why the church? Because the more and more black people lean toward the left, the more and more the left has to divorce us from the church and from religion. Because in the left-wing ideology, socialism, communism, there is no room for God because the state is God. And that's why they talk about free this, free that, because the state is the benefactor. The state is the giver. Remember, Karl Marx said religion is the opium of the masses. Fidel Castro did not allow religion to be practiced in Cuba. And so black people need to wake up. They are not following Martin Luther King. That's the irony of it. These black pastors that you're talking about, they're not following Dr. King because Dr. King never did that. So
Right.
you can't be following Dr. King because out of all the oppression he faced, if that was an effective or moral strategy, don't you think he would have done that?
Right.
So
Right.
that's where I am on this.
So I
Right.
have one more thing to say. You spoke about the
Sure.
silence of faith leaders, right? And to
Sure.
me, that seems like it's a moral position. And these are people who are supposed to mentorship. It's mentorship to the community, right? To give you that clarity. So if these faith leaders are so morally comfortable being silenced, what information or what kind of resource can we give the community to gain moral clarity?
Well, I will say this, that each person has to really have their own sense of ethics. Because in a real sense, this is not a political thing. Most people listening to the sound of my voice, their mother and father and grandmother would have taught them, you don't go disrupt a worship service. And the Bible tells us in Timothy, 2 Timothy, I think it is, that the day would come where you would not be able to find a teacher that would preach a sound doctrine. And many of these ministers want to be liked. You have to understand a disproportionate number of them coming out of these seminaries. They want the grant money, the foundation money, and they have been increasingly taught by godless seminary professors who have had one agenda, and that is a left-wing agenda. And so these ministers know that if they don't embrace the progressive ideology, they'll never be invited to preach at the Capitol. They'll never be invited to get awards. They'll never be on television shows. And so many of these men are compromising their principles, and women. And also, let's be honest. And I hate to put it like this, but I am. Don Lemon is an attention whore. And unfortunately, many of these ministers have become attention whores.
Exactly.
When you hear ministers talking about their church is going to start selling weed, or their wife will wear a dress that becomes the topic of conversation about the appropriateness of it or not. These people are trying to get likes. They're trying to get clicks. They have abandoned the mission, the ethical mission, and so there's a lot of that going on as well. And they want to be popular. It's easy, it's easy to take the position that Don Lemon is a victim. It's very hard to say Don Lemon is wrong.
Now they're making him a martyr for black journalism.
And Don Lemon is no more concerned about black folks than a man on the moon.
Exactly. So Brother Conrad, you've been in a lot of these organizations, so you see how these organizations now is making Don Lemon a martyr for black journalism. They say now, they're coming for us. This is the moment that they're making a move on us. What do you think about that, brother?
I think it's pure unfettered, unmitigated foolishness. When people start, I've gotten to the point where when somebody says they are coming after me, I want to know who is the they. Don Lemon knew what he was doing. Don Lemon is an independent journalist, and basically he's doing the same thing you do. He's a podcaster, okay? And he knows that this will get him likes. Last night, he was not in Harlem, or he was not in some, battered women's shelter with Sister So-and-so. He was in Hollywood being feted by Clive Davis, the man who they said had a party over Whitney Houston's dead body. Okay? The man who they say taught Diddy and all these people how to molest artists and so forth and so on. So, let's face it. Let's just be clear and be honest what Don Lemon is about. Okay? And so he was not. First rule of a journalist is that you never make yourself the story. Okay? Because the story is not about you. You're covering the story. You are not to become the story. That's journalistic ethics. Don Lemon conspired with these people. He organized with them. He was giving out donuts and coffee prior. They have the footage. Now, let me ask you a question. He said, I'm just there to cover the story. Trying to interview the pastor in the middle of his church being disrupted. So let me ask you this question. If he was just there as a reporter, okay? He was just there covering the story. I have nothing to do with it. I knew about it. If you had to know about it, else you wouldn't be there. But suppose a church shooter had told him at 2:00, I'm going to shoot up this church. Would people accept him saying, I was just there as a journalist?
No, not
he
at
would
all.
be a conspirator, right?
Absolutely.
He knew it was going to happen. He came because it was going to happen. And that's the same thing that happened with this protest. Okay? And though a church shooting is vastly different than church disruption in terms of Don Lemon's culpability, it's all the same. In other words, if he just happened to be in church and this happened and he jumped into his journalistic bag and started covering it, that's one thing. But this was not his church. He knew that it was going to put. The other thing is this. I'm so sick and tired of people quoting Martin Luther King. One of the principles of the civil rights movement was we believe that the laws are unjust. But we recognize that this is the law. But because we believe the law is unjust, we will peacefully and in a non-belligerent way violate the law. Rosa Parks didn't jump up and turn the mother out on the bus, right? She just sat there. The other thing in the movement was, and this was part of the training, part of the discipline and the ethics. When you broke the law, you expected to go to jail. That was the point. In other words, I want to go to jail. I want to offer my body as a sacrifice because I'm a moral warrior. And this law that says that black people have to sit on the back of the bus is wrong. And I know it's wrong, and I'm willing to go to jail, and I'll sit in jail until these laws are changed. And of course, throughout the movement, they filled up the jails. Dr. King, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture was arrested over 77 times in Alabama and Mississippi. Dr. King was sentenced to long prison sentences, sometimes as long as 6 months. And so if Don Lemon, if he's sincere, and these people, I heard a woman say it was 4 of them that planned it. If they're that serious about it, then they should be willing to go to jail. And don't cry now. You did it. Don't say it's unjust. You made the decision as a conscientious objector to go in and disrupt someone's church. At least you could have the ethical decency to pay the price. I respect you if you did that. When Muhammad Ali gave up his belt, said, I'm not going to Vietnam. They offered him, you don't have to fight, just do exhibitions. He said, no, because if I go, I'm inspiring someone else to go. He said, no, I'd rather just go to jail.
Brother, where do you think do you think there's an end? Because it's not, because if the Dems get in, it's just going to be trying to impeach Trump for the next 2 years. It's not even going to be, and then we're going to just end at the bottom again, even after all this stuff. Like, we'll get nothing from it.
It will. And, America, we're coming up on our 250th year as a nation. Now, I will tell you that no nation in the world has ever risen to our height in only 250 years. Okay, you can go to Paris or London or Heidelberg, Germany, and there are buildings that are 1,700 years old. Okay, 1,700 years old. You can go to ancient Egypt. You can go to Egypt. You can go to Abyssinia. You can go to ancient China. And there are buildings there in 2,000, 3,000 years old in different parts of the world. But in only 250 years, America has become, arguably in terms of ethics, but certainly not arguably in terms of power, the most powerful nation on the earth. But what has kept us powerful is several things. Number one, I give great credit to the founders of the founding fathers. Now, they were racist, slave owners, but they created a system, a political system that the world had never seen before. See, what people don't understand is under every other nation on the earth, and we talk about the great Songhai, Mali, Timbuktu, great ancient Egypt, China, true, ancient Persia, all of those countries, ancient Europe, Roman Empire, they were all great. But the individual didn't mean a damn thing in those societies.
Mm-hmm.
You were a subject of the sovereign, the king, the ruler. There were no individual liberties. There were no middle class people. Okay. When I hear these socialists talk about capitalism, why capitalism makes people impoverished, it's asinine. Poverty is the normal default of human beings.
Mm-hmm.
From the cavemen to from the hunters and gatherers, when we first start cultivating society, most people who hunted didn't catch anything on that day. Most times crops did not bear fruit. Throughout the dark ages and middle ages, people have lived in poverty, but it is capitalism and America that's produced a middle class. But the only way we did that is through our political institutions. And I'm afraid that the people now in office are small-minded people. When I see Democrats now, Damon, and I put it more on the Democrats at this point in this regard, they say they're for the masses. But my point is, when you see people making fiery speeches in the Congress, and basically they're anti-Trump speeches or they're anti-Republican speeches, who's going to do the legislation? Adam Clayton Powell was elected in 1947 or in the late 40s, early 50s. I forget whether I know he was in the city council by 47. But he got to Washington, he couldn't even eat in the dining room. It was a segregated dining room. He had segregationists, Dixiecrats. They were Democrats and segregationists. He had to deal with them every day. And yet, Adam Clayton Powell got 66 bills passed during his tenure in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
What is Jasmine Crockett doing for us other than cosplaying? What is Hakeem Jeffries doing? What legislation are they passing? See, if you're not passing legislation, you don't have any value to people. If you're elected to Congress, you go there to get things done. I can go on 125th Street and hear somebody talking crazy.
Right. I mean, it got to the point that this type of politics, whether it's local, state, or national, they don't want to work with the other side for some reason. Like, it just doesn't.
It's because the left has a disproportionate influence. And the left, when I say the left, I mean those people who are socialists and communists that do not like the American way of life. Heretofore, in the Black community, every leader we've had an appreciation for the American way of life. They simply pointed out to America that America denied us an opportunity to participate in the American way of life. These people do not like the American way of life, and they want to undermine it. And that's why everything has to be bitter and rancorous. And that's why you can't get anything done in the Congress, because in order to do things in the Congress, there has to be, number one, civility, cordiality, and everybody has to be, even though they have differences, everybody has to think about the good of the citizens and the people.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
brother,
I mean, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, there's a pox on both houses. I know people think I talk more about the Democrats. Are enslaved to the Democrats. So if I'm going to work on freeing my people, there's no sense of me wasting time talking about Trump. They don't like him anyway. But they are enslaved to the Democrats. And they have literally presented politics as though it's a moral struggle between the good side, the responsible side, and the evil side. When In fact, both parties are men and women interested in one thing: who's going to control the gavel and who's going to sit in the White House or the
Exactly.
State House. That's what it's all about.
Hey, brother, I got a question for you. Someone says, what do you think about how many of those same leaders were also called communists and socialists?
No, they weren't. Ask your person to tell me which one. Ask your person to tell me which one. Yeah, they were. They may have been called communists or socialists, but these today say they're communists and socialists.
Right,
J.
yeah,
Edgar Hoover called Martin Luther King. J. Edgar Hoover called Martin Luther King a communist. I never heard Dr. King say he was a communist.
Right. Absolutely right.
And Paul Robeson and Du Bois. Paul Robeson, listen, in the 1930s, when black people are living in legal segregation, people are being lynched in 1918, I don't fault any black leader for exploring communism, socialism, Bolshevism. The Bolshevik Revolution had only taken place in 1908. Communism purported to be for the oppressed. So when you're in a state of oppression, the way black people were in that era, I don't blame them for being interested in communism or believing that it might be a solution. The communists are very clear. They always want to exploit the weaknesses of the capitalist system, and racism and segregation was a weakness. But what happened? Paul Robeson became intrigued and became a communist, but he didn't die one. He became very, 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 very discouraged when he saw that, the totalitarian nature. One of his best friends was killed in Russia. And he saw W.E.B. Du Bois. He saw the racism of the left, the progressive left, and he left and died in Africa. The only person that I know in the black community that died a socialist is Kwame Ture. And Kwame Ture was always very clear that he was an African socialist. He rejected European socialism. And so, no, this is a myth that the left, now I've heard him say Dr. King was a socialist, Malcolm was a socialist, they are bastardizing history. And because we don't know history, we are falling for it.
That's right. Hey, Brother Con, I got another question. Who is going to unite the two houses if the Dems gain control? Schumer or Jeffries? I don't think so.
Who are Jeffries?
Schumer or Jeffries?
Well, first of all, neither one of them will be able to do it because, you see, here's the problem with America. You cannot have a partisan politician. And when you reduce yourself to become a partisan hack for the Republicans or the Democrats, you'll never rise above the rancor. Let me just remind people that Democrats have the history of Democrats since I've been alive, and I'm 61 years old. John F. Kennedy was a Democrat that today would not even be allowed in the Democratic Party, okay? But when he was killed in 63, Lyndon Johnson won in 64, okay? He replaced him, finished out his term, and he won his own term in 64. But after Johnson's term, you did not have a Democratic president again from 68, when Nixon won again, to 1976, when Carter won, and he only won because of Watergate. But after Carter won, you did not have another Democrat win from 1980 to 1992. And the only way Bill Clinton won in 92 was that he was a conservative Democrat. He was not a partisan Democrat. He was a conservative Democrat, and he worked with Newt Gingrich in order to get things done. And so the transformative figures in American history, they understand that, first of all, we have a bicameral house. You can't get anything done with one party.
Right.
Statesmen have to be able to reach against the aisle and find common ground. That's what New York. See, a New York politician will never be a transformative figure in America because the left has so dominated the New York political landscape. The ideas that you have to have in order to be popular in New York, they will never fly in some other parts of the country.
Right. Right.
So you never, because New York does not have moderate Democrats, and
Right.
it's only Democrats only win when they're moderates, and Joe Biden only won because people perceived him coming after Trump. He was perceived as an old white man, a moderate Democrat that would pull us back to the center. And unfortunately, Hakeem has allowed himself to be pulled to the left. And of course, Schumer, he's trying to fight, he and Hakeem, but their problem is they think that if they just put their head in the sand, the socialists will go away and leave them alone. They should be fighting the socialists.
But I mean, it's just swaying that way in New York, man. It's something that they're gonna have to show and prove, and Dammy's gonna have to show and prove. And
well,
you're gonna make a choice after that, brother. No, people are gonna have to make a choice.
Well,
they're gonna have to see the
I
outcome.
already know what's going to happen. What's going to happen is the same thing that happened in the mid '70s. New York, was dominated by free spending Democrats and a free spending Republican governor. The whole concept and term Rockefeller Republican is a term that captures who Nelson Rockefeller was, a free spending liberal Republican. Okay, Republican in name only. They call them rhinos. Country club Republican. Was not a fiscal conservative. New York, welfare benefits, free this, free that. By 1975, the city of New York went broke. Bad policies in terms of real estate, bad policies in terms of the private sector, and the businesses left. And the building owners walked away from the buildings because they couldn't collect rent money, because the legislature had made it almost impossible for people to collect rent money. They walked away from those buildings, paid some kid $50 and had them burned down. And by 1976, the city was in Washington begging, 75, begging to be rescued. And it wasn't until, to be honest with you, the sad thing is New York's greatest days in the last 50 years have come under 5 Republican terms. 2 under Giuliani and 3 under Bloomberg.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, it's sad, but it's true. Dinkins was trying. He was fairly moderate, but the city was in such bad shape by the time he got it, and he only got that 1 term. And, but let's face it. I mean, that's the problem with gentrification, that all of these people that have moved to New York, they only did so after the conservative fiscal policies and the tough law and order policies of people like Giuliani and Bloomberg and Ray Kelly. And as much as we protested and didn't like some of the things that went on.
Exactly.
What's that? Yeah, I mean,
exactly. We was out there protesting all them dudes, man.
I mean, because it was excess, and of course, when a man is coming home from work and he's shot 41 times when he merely has a wallet. I mean, we had to be out there.
That's right.
But the broken windows theory, you know, as it turned out to be a good way of policing.
In theory.
Well, I'm not as knowledgeable about that as you.
in theory, but
in theory, yeah, in theory.
Right. It depends on what precinct and who is your commander.
Yeah, that's what it is.
How that theory work, and the same as stop and frisk. I mean, stop and frisk is just it's just called the Constitution, or the Supreme Court calls it the Terry stop. Any cop can do a Terry stop, but if you target a certain group of people to do it consistently, it becomes stop and frisk.
And quotas, and I think quotas is also an incentive for that system to be misused and utilized in the wrong way.
You know, I didn't like, and I talked to AJ about it because I watched some of these lawyers and entertainers on BET, and then I watched some other, you know, scaring black people, you know, and it's sad though, because when you say, oh, well, Trump's going to bring back stop and frisk, and I'm like, yo, stop and frisk ain't never left. It's called a Terry stop by the Constitution. Trump's going to bring back qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is from the Supreme Court too.
You have to have qualified.
It's already there. It's already there. So
who would ever take a job? Yeah, I mean, who would take a job as a police officer, EMS technician, firefighter? Who would take that job without qualified immunity? I mean, qualified immunity just means that, hey, if my mother's not breathing and I call an ambulance and the first responders get there and they apply CPR and my mother doesn't make it, I can't sue them because they killed my mother. They have some immunity because their duty is inherently dangerous and comes with great risk. It's the same with a police officer. Now, qualified immunity is different than what this idiot, and I do think he's a fascist, Stephen Miller, he has fascist tendencies, saying that people had complete immunity. No one has the Gestapo, okay? Where they can summarily execute you. No one has, but you have to have qualified immunity, because if a police officer breaks your arm and you're a criminal, you just killed 10 people, you shouldn't be able to sue a police officer.
Well, I think more people were talking about in cases of questionable police shootings and police brutality that leads into death. I mean, the problem with all that is just our elected officials are not passing, you know, the correct laws. You know, as an organization, we used to tell them, like, if they violated, you could do a state policy, that if they violated the department's policies and procedures and training, then they could lose there. If you
but see, that's the limits. That's the limits of. Now, if you show up at an EMS if you're working as an EMS worker, you show up at someone's house on a call, and you high on crack, and the person dies as a result of that you would lose that immunity because you did not use best practices. That's not a person dying in the course of your duty. You were grossly incompetent. You were, so if a police officer could be proved to have, not operated within his training or her training, then yes, that's where that's what the term qualified immunity means. Qualified, you have it as long as you follow best practices. And I'm happy, to be honest with you, because in the last 30 years, people forget that the first man ever convicted in New York State for abuse against a black citizen was Justin Volpe, and that wasn't until 1993. Sodomizing after the women. No police officer had ever been charged with murder of a black citizen prior to 1993, and that sodomizing of abnormal women. But nowadays, I think, Derek Chauvin and some of these other cases, the laws are changing. But like you said, the lawyers, the legislators have to create better laws. You want to be fair, obviously, to law enforcement or any first responder, because how will you get people to take those jobs if they have inherent risk? Let's be fair. It's like a school teacher. A school teacher has, certain protections. A swimming instructor. You could drown. You know what I mean? And so we have to, use common sense. That's all.
Well, brother, man, I thank you for coming on. We are at that time.
Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate it.
Larnez, AJ.
Nah, good show. Thank you for coming, my brother.
I haven't heard a peep out of AJ the whole time.
He's talking right now. He's talking right now. You just can't
You
hear.
couldn't hear me. You couldn't hear me, so I let
All
David
right.
take over.
I like hearing brother AJ.
Yeah, you couldn't hear me, so I let David take over.
Let them know if they want to know where your church at, man. Anybody watching, let them know where they can come hear you get the word of God, man.
Yeah, please. They certainly are the Congregational Church of South Hempstead, Long Island. I've only been there since May, so it's my latest church assignment, and I'm very happy out there. But also they can Conrad Tillard on Facebook, Conversations with Conrad on YouTube. They can find me on Twitter. I'm all over the internet, but reach out, stay plugged in, and you all continue to do the great work you're doing. I appreciate you standing up for the brother in Mount Vernon. That's a great tragedy and travesty. And one of the things that I would say to black elected officials, black leaders, black preachers, and black people, I am so sick and tired of hearing they don't want us or they are trying to do to us. Now, you are pointing out a situation where there's a black city of 70,000 people, and we can't get that right. So if we would just focus on ourselves, I don't hear any other race. And I know there was a time when that was a relevant conversation, but I don't see any great conspiracy today to keep blacks down. But what I see are a divided people that are constantly looking for a boogeyman rather than rolling up our sleeves and looking ourselves in the mirror and saying we could do better than we're doing.
That's it, brother. That's it. Thank you, man. I appreciate
All right, my
you.
brother. Be blessed.
We're gonna let you get back to the driving, man.
All right. Have a good evening.
Peace now.
All right, peace.
Yeah, when he couldn't hear me, it made no sense to keep talking. So I was like, Damon got this. So I just let you handle it.
Yeah.
And then I was just typing the messages in the thing and put my comments up like that. I wanted to say,
I forgot, man. It was a tight. I tried to give him to 7:00, but I forgot. He lives in Connecticut and he drives to Hempstead. I'm like, dude, that's a drive.
Yeah, because you got to go through Westchester, across the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why Jack Toon said, yo, Conrad, what you driving to?
Right. He was like, Pittsburgh?
You've been talking the whole show.
Jack
was crazy.
Jack was trying to play Love Connection with our former guest, too.
Oh,
God.
Oh,
yeah, she's beautiful. Who is she?
Oh, my God.
Jack be trying to play Love Connection every 5 minutes. Word up. Good show. This is what the show is about. I mean, we have the real talk. The theme of the show is real talk for the community since 2014. You're going to hear conversations that we don't have. And one of the things that was said earlier, and I want to reiterate this is what we have to do. We have these conversations, and we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That was being said earlier, and I've been saying that forever. We need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. To sit in these conversations with other people who sometimes don't even look like us and sound like us or think like us. That's what made actually this country great. The combined ideas of people with different lenses. You know, now we're at a point now where if you don't feel what I feel and think that I think, you wrong and you whatever. And then it's me against you. And it's like, yo, like he named, like when he was talking about Adam Clayton Powell, that was 45 to 71. Then you had Charles Rick. Back then, there wasn't a lot of black people. One, there wasn't even a lot of black people there. But he had to work with the Republicans to get all the things he got for Harlem. Rangel worked with all the Republicans. He worked with Republicans to bring that stuff to Harlem. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we got to get back to that. It can't be, I'm not talking to them because they got a different letter representing them, a D or R. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking to them. You can't get anything done. And the presidents have all had to have work with the leadership of the other branches, the other party to get stuff done. Like, that's how you have to do things. And a good negotiation is when neither party is fully happy. That means nobody got everything they wanted. Like, you gave some, I got a little bit, you got a little bit, we gave a little bit. Like, you know what I'm saying? When I'm just the only one happy and you're not happy, then that's not a good negotiation. If you just get what you getting and I ain't getting nothing, that ain't a good negotiation. So, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but, you know, we got to get back to that. And regardless of who's in power, until we get that on both sides, because people have gone too far on the right and the left. Like, I'm talking to both of y'all parties. Y'all got fractions on both sides that have gone too far that even some of your people can't even get with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, you know, compromise. Yes. Yes, Tracy Clark, compromise. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. We got a lot of different people tuned in today that don't normally tune in and see a lot of new names. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all. Make sure that y'all, especially if y'all on YouTube, y'all like, y'all subscribe, y'all leave comments. You check out the other videos. That's one that, like, people ask how can they support us. That's one of the biggest ways you can support us. On Facebook, same thing. Make sure you like and leave comments. You know, share this with other people. If you got something out this conversation, you thought it was good, share it with other people that you think need to hear it. That's the biggest thing to help us grow. You know, because like you said, like Yogi and them was saying, we don't get paid for this work. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got Low HUD and News 12 and ABC and NBC checks coming every week. This is a labor of love that we've been doing, and we've been doing it going on 12 years now. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, and for y'all that don't support, I keep saying, one day y'all gonna look around and we're gonna be gone, and y'all gonna be like, what happened? Like, one day, and it won't be long, y'all gonna look around and we're gonna be gone, and y'all gonna be like, damn, we need that black media. County press, y'all wasn't supporting that. They can't even do print no more. They're only doing online now. And they was print forever. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I talked to Sandra, just like, she can't afford it no more. You know what I'm saying?
And it's not like the community can't support, because how many of us got a membership with Planet Fitness for $20 a month and don't go to the gym?
And don't go.
Well, how much do we spend? We spend money on a bunch of stuff that we don't. Yo, how many people, you ever see that commercial where they tell you to go to Rocket Money or whatever, and they show you how many subscriptions you got coming out every month, and sometimes double and triple subscriptions?
Yeah.
And it says you're paying $585 a year, and you don't even know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we have money. We have money for what we want to spend money on.
The biggest consumers we are. The biggest consumers.
We have money for entertainment. We have money, whatever our drug of choice is, whether it's cigarettes, alcohol, or drugs. You know what I'm saying? We always have money for that. I know a whole lot of people can't pay their rent but smoke weed every day. Like, they never miss a day. They like, yo, dude, like, you don't have money. You don't have money to pay your bills. But you're getting a big 50 packs of weed every day. Like, Where's that money coming from? Like,
He said they never miss a day.
they never miss a day.
That's crazy. Son. That's
Never.
crazy.
You got money. You got money for what you want to have money for. You know what I'm saying? And it's like until we do like other groups of people and support our own things, our own institutions. And I'm gonna tell you, like, yo, no, Damon was at the county. He was at the county for 33 years. Yo, this has been my everyday, all day thing. And I'm gonna tell you, it's a struggle, real talk. There is nothing else. This is it. Like, yo, this is a struggle, like, to bring this to you. And we keep doing this. And we keep doing this. And, you know, we have people come in and then, you know, they go on to do something else. So we got new people come in. But we've been holding this down for going on 12 years. And, yo, I appreciate those who have supported, whether sometimes they make a donation because they can't have nothing to advertise. And the people that are starting to advertise better now, I appreciate you, you know, all those people. But, yo, it's a labor of love. Ain't nobody getting a paycheck off of this. Ain't nobody getting rich off of this. This is like, yo, I could be doing a lot of other things to make money and take care of just me. This is a decision we made for the community. Mm-hmm. So, you know, appreciate all of y'all that hold us down. Last words, Lanez, anything you want big up for coming up this week or big up?
No, I just want to say
Wednesday. Remember Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday. Please come out to the Kenneth Chamberlain viewing. Mm-hmm. What's the name of I want to get the right title of the movie because I didn't say the whole title.
The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain.
Thank you.
That is please actually the name of the movie. Yeah.
The flyer is on Black Westchester. You could register. It's free. It's going to be an amazing event. I just want to say our kids are actually watching all of this. They're learning what injustice looks like by what adults around them tolerate. So show them the right thing. And that's all I got to say.
You know why that's so strong? Our parents, their parents that fought in the civil rights and stuff, they carried that with them. You know, they saw their parents fighting and their parents and grandparents fighting for everything. What are the young people seeing about our generation? What are the young people seeing us do? I'm saying the collective us. What are they seeing us do?
So you got to really look at the psyche of a kid, right? You're not seeing your mother really go outside and sell things. You seeing your mother go to a machine and pull out money. So how do I understand money? How do I understand how to make money? How do I understand that I need to use this money in community to support community? Those steps are missing now. Right. So it's hard for kids to really ingest all these things because kids don't learn from words. They learn from your actions. They learn from what they see. I mean, yes, they know, hey, Ma said, don't touch this, so I'm not going to touch it. But they learn through repetition and what they see around them. That's what makes real impact in their lives. That makes impact on their behavior and how they direct their life moving forward. So,
yo, somebody said in the new iPhones, have you seen the new report that there's a group of kids now that are trying to unplug from the internet and they're going back to buying flip phones with no internet on it.
Really?
There's a thing now. Yes, I just saw a report on that. It's not the majority, but they're like, yo, they're being triggered online. And they are unplugging from the internet, and they are buying the regular because they sell the regular flip phones that we used to have. They sell them again. I was in Best Buy yesterday. I seen it. They got the flip phone.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So some kids are doing this. They are not getting phones with the internet on it. They're getting flip phones, and they said they are unplugging from the toxicness of social media. These are kids talking.
No, that's good, man.
And I hope a lot of their peers listen to them.
God bless them.
Well, they overstimulated by everything. We didn't have access. I know me growing up when I was a teenager, I didn't have access to this much information or about everything, all the trauma that's happening, all the war that's happening all over the world. And then I look at my circumstances. All these things impact us. That's why so many of these kids are struggling. They don't have the words to say I need help. They don't have the words to say I need therapy. And then when you go into your household and your family don't know that your behavior is a trauma because they thought it was love.
Somebody said record players too. Vinyl records and record players and turntables are coming back too. They're making vinyl records is making a comeback now.
I need those.
Movement. It's a small movement. People are starting to sell their vinyl now, and people are going back to buy turntables and record players again. Mostly turntables. Record players was what our parents used. The record changers.
I got a record player. Matter of fact, I got it for Mother's Day 2 years ago.
I got one where you plugs in. It's a turntable, but it has an adapter to plug into a USB port, so you can actually take the vinyl and digitize it onto your computer.
Oh, you fancy!
Actually, and I can't take credit. That was my mom's. My mother had this. I have this because my mother had it. She passed. That's why I have this. I had never seen it. It's like,
So since we're talking about technology, I'm working on a story, but I talked about it before. So the sale of TikTok has went through. It has went through. It is now owned. There's a new CEO. So I deleted my TikTok app because it's co-owned by these other people that are connected, and these are facts. They're connected to Israeli Mossad, and if you know that Israeli Mossad, they know how to blow up beepers. They made everybody, there's a screen that come up, people are saying that they have people a new agreement. Now, it does have the tracker, but there's a way you could go on your phone to make sure that the app is not literally tracking you. But I just deleted the app.
That's what's up. Yo, that was my alarm telling me that it's over 8 o'clock and it's time to go. That's my 8:15 alarm. I'm like, yo, that remind me that we going over 8 o'clock. So that was my alarm.
So we out of here, y'all. Everybody have a blessed one.
Anybody who can come through Thursday, Friday, come check me out for my birthday. My birthday is Thursday. The flyer's up. It's on social media and everything. Come have a drink with me for my 60th if you can. Appreciate you. And until next time.
Peace and blessings. Stay Blacktastic.
Are you ready to put your brand in front of the people who matter? Black Westchester Magazine is your platform. With over 90,000 monthly website readers and more than 250,000 YouTube viewers every month, we give your business unmatched exposure. From email blasts straight to our subscribers, to video commercials, website promotions, and targeted campaigns, we've got the tools to help you connect, engage, and grow. Whether you're a local business, a national brand, a rising entrepreneur, or just promoting an upcoming event, Black Westchester is where culture, community, and commerce meet. Contact us today or scan the QR code and start building with us. Rep the movement. Get your official Black Westchester merch today. Hoodies, tees, and more at blackwestchestermerch.shop. Wear your voice, make a statement. Damon K. Jones exposes the lies and challenges the gatekeepers in Black politics in his powerful book, Emotional Politics and Logical Failure. Black America needs fewer emotions and more outcomes. Our communities deserve better. On sale now, get the book or audiobook on Amazon, From the Streets of Westchester to the Heart of Hip Hop. Discover A. J. Woodson's powerful collection. Black Westchester, the origin story. We got our own thing. Hip hop from the 9, 1, 4, and Black Westchester celebrate Black women of Westchester. Available now at blackwestchester.com and on Amazon. Get your copies today. Tolerance is for Cowards by Damon K. Jones. This book is not anti-police, it's pro-community. Discover how the extended policing strategy empowers you to demand real public safety, justice, and accountability from your local police department. Because the Black community deserves good policing. This Valentine's Day, make it sweet with Cupcake Cutie Boutique. They're serving fresh, hand-dipped chocolate-covered strawberries, perfect for date night, gifts, or a treat for yourself. For a limited time, order through DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub, and get 20% off our chocolate-covered strawberries. Love should taste this good. Thank you for watching another Blacktastic episode of the People Before Politics show. Sunday Rundown, powered by Black Westchester Magazine. We appreciate every single one of you who tuned in, commented, shared the stream, and joined the conversation. Your support is the reason independent Black media continues to thrive and speak truth without fear. Every week, we show up to bring clarity, accountability, and real community insight to the stories that matter. And you show up with us. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or X, we want you to know that your voice, your engagement, and your presence make this platform stronger. Thank you for rocking with Damon K. Jones, AJ Woodson, and Larnez Kinsey as we break down the issues that many outlets ignore. And thank you for supporting a space where Black thought, Black leadership, and Black truth-telling still matter.